And this is a competitive train game that actually incorporates a lot of different elements. You're going to have some area control, engine building, and bidding, just to name a few. But each player is going to be starting with their own personal player board that's going to house all the different tokens that you're going to be using throughout the game. You're also going to be starting with some movement and hero cards that I will come back to in a second here. And of course, you will also have your starter train on the board, which will come with a starter car, which you'll be using to transport goods and resources across the main board. And the main board is going to be broken into a bunch of different districts where you're going to be able to try and gain influence over. The reason that influence is so important in this game is because that's how you're going to be building your engine throughout the game, and it's going to be determining the resources and number of action tokens that you get to perform in each of the following rounds. Because as you gain influence on the main board, you're going to be keeping track of your influence in each of the different districts, and then all of that is going to feed into this track on the right hand side and push your tokens upward on those tracks, gaining you even more resources and coal and even more actions on the following turn. And this image shows what that might look like a little bit later in the game as players are gaining influence in these various tracks. And I know that there's a lot going on with this board, but these tokens in the middle here are different free actions that you can earn throughout the game. And then these different tracks at the bottom here are different opportunities for players to race to complete in order to score victory points, because each of these different rows represent a different city. And then there's an amount of resources that need to be delivered to that city in order for players to claim that objective. The tracks at the very bottom earn players with different benefits as they move up and cover up different locations of that track, and the way that you move up that track is by building different buildings in the various districts. But this is a game that plays over a series of rounds, and players are going to be bidding for turn order, but then each round players are going to be checking their influence on these various tracks in order to move their tokens up this track, which is going to help you in basically every aspect of the game, but primarily with the coal that you're going to be receiving to power your train, and then also the number of action tokens that you'll get to receive, which of course having more means that you can perform more actions. Players will be using worker placement in order to perform those actions by placing action tokens out on the various boards in order to build warehouses and stations, which, like I said, do move you up those tracks, but they'll also generate you more income. Players can also gain more cars for their trains, which will then allow you to carry more cargo. And players can use an action to load more cargo onto their train, or to gain more coal to power their train, or to send out their agents to the various locations out on the board in order to gain more influence in the associated district. But after all the players have performed their actions, you move into the movement phase, where players are each going to be using one of their movement cards in order to power their train. Each of the cards is going to have a series of movements, as well as a special bonus located in the bottom left corner of the card, and each of these movements do have to be done in order, and each of them do cost a certain amount of coal. So the more that you move down this card, the more coal you're going to be spending, but if you do spend enough, then you'll be unlocking the special bonus of that card, but otherwise you won't be able to access it. Your trains will always have to follow the arrows outlined on the various tracks, but anytime that you meet an intersection point, you'll have a decision of where you want your train to go. You're going to gain different bonus actions depending on the locations that you travel through, and you'll be able to spend resources for benefits at these various locations, with one of those locations even being a black market. Of course, your main objective is to deliver goods to the various cities that you pass through so that you can claim your spot on the objective board, which will gain you victory points at the end of the game, and also block that spot for any other players. Any city that a player passes through, they're going to be placing their token there to indicate that they've already visited that city, because like I said, this can be an end trigger for the game. At the end of the round, players can decide if they want to play any of their hero cards, and these are going to have different objectives or requirements that you're going to be going after throughout the game. And once you feel like you have fulfilled it, you'll be able to play that to gain either the bonus that it provides or the victory points that it can earn you at the end of the game. And the game continues like this over a series of rounds, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game. And if you do want to check it out, I'll have it linked down below.